Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Music Made Me podcast. Thank you once again so much for joining us. We hope you are sharing, liking, following, subscribing to us on whatever streaming service you are listening on. As we always say, it's a huge help in supporting us to come back each and every week. Today we're sitting down with Toronto musician Reid Henry. He's best known for his time with My Darkest Days. We talked about his musical past, his time with My Darkest Days, as well as his budding solo work. So please enjoy our conversation with Reid Henry. That's a nice setup you got back there.
Yeah, thanks, man. It's I've been working in it all day doing takes. So I've got a whole bunch of content that I got to go through and edit now. But yeah, it's been a long day.
Nice. So are you doing like a bulk of your recording at home? Is that where you do all your recording right now?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a really pretty elaborate setup compared to what I've historically had. Like myself, I've never had like a real I would have killed to had a rig like this 10 years ago when I was just like coming up. So I've got a very I've got all I need. It's nothing special. I mean, you can always scale up, right? Like you see some of those like LA mixer dudes that have $1 million worth of studio gear, but I have everything I think I need to make really great sounding recordings and to kind of mess around and do some cool video stuff. Like I was thinking of doing live off the floor, like sort of album cuts, almost like White Stripes, kind of in the same vein as that, sort of like, sort of from the similar approach to the way they used to record it onto 2-inch tape, where it was a lot more danger because you couldn't screw up. Otherwise you'd be setting fire to a ton of money and everyone would be super bummed at you. Right. Like, so
right.
The pressure was a lot more than with digital recording. We can kind of just go, oh, well, it's just your time that you wasted,
And so how has things changed, especially within your musical career with the recording side? Like when you started back in your early 20s to now, has there been a real progression in, you say, like going to tape to digital?
Oh, gosh. Of course. Yeah. I mean, like when we were kids, like I was recording onto like, burning CDs and stuff. And at least when I was coming up, and learning really, really, early version of Pro Tools or whatever in the early 2000s, the recording software, all of it's come so far. It's pretty amazing. I feel like we live in the future for sure. There's so much. And not only that, but just like what that's done is it's created this sort of culture of creators, which I think is really cool. I'm excited by it. I think that good ideas sort of breed other good ideas, and you can't go wrong when there's a whole bunch of creative minds working. It's everyone's gonna the rising tide raises up all ships, I think.
Yeah, and it feels like that is really the way it's going. Like, especially yourself, you're talking about that constant recording, and it feels like that's what's going on now. People are just pumping out their music. They're not necessarily worried about an album, unless it's, an artist who's really established, who sort of needs that for an album cycle. But for the most part, a lot of artists, it feels like, are pumping out the music. And then once they have enough, maybe they'll package it, but they just want to get it out there.
I think those majors will turn. I think they're just like, it's like turning a boat, right? Like, I think that those major labels will turn, man. That's just like, I mean, Spotify's CEO has actually made a couple remarks on this. It's sort of like, you can't put it back in the bag. The digital streaming service and the way people consume music has changed. I don't listen to records.
Yep.
Even if one of my favorite artists dropped a record right now, I'm just like, I'm too busy. I think everybody's just got so much on their plate and the world is spinning so fast now. I don't know that people have, it's different than it was, because in the 60s when a record dropped and you were able to go to a store and pick up a record from your favorite band and take it home and play it, you didn't have 2 cell phones and like 3 jobs and this and that and the other thing. And it's like, it's not a bad thing, but it's definitely a different thing than back in the day. So I think as beautiful as the form of the record is, and I'm a fan in terms of the music industry, at least, where art meets commerce. Like, I just don't see that being, enough for like artists or rock musicians or whatever, musicians for that matter, to make a living without capitalizing on that. And so the majors will turn. They're just like, it's like turning a boat.
Right.
they're slow at it. In 5 years, I don't think they'll be putting out records either.
And with so much out there, how lucky do you feel as turning to a solo artist and putting out a couple of singles and actually getting ears onto them?
Man,
Is
it's
that a pretty good feeling?
I'm extremely lucky, and I think that that it's definitely been a ton of work, and so I'm super grateful anytime somebody new finds the music I'm making, and you know, or and equally I'm super grateful when I'm a fan of someone who's a fan of the previous work I've done with My Darkest Days or Dead Set Society. It's like, oh hey, it's that dude, that's cool, and like digs the song or whatever. Like I think that's it's something special, especially with this. I mean, you know, I've never had so much on my shoulders in terms of the output of a project before, for which I'm grateful. I'm excited by the challenge, but it's definitely you know, something else.
And you had a tweet earlier this year. Where is it? I want to get the words just right. I don't know why I wrote it down. Oh, there it is. To drop a new song every month.
Yes, I know.
So I
I think I
haven't
already
seen
blew
any
that.
new stuff. So I
I
think
know.
you have to drop two this month, and then
That's
maybe you can
true.
get back on track.
I do have them though. They're just not. I'm just like such a perfectionist that like my goal is totally to do it. And I think if I can get 10 songs out a year, I'll be happy. I think that's probably a better, more realistic goal because I got about two or three that are like right close that I'm really excited about. One song in particular called "A Special Place in Hell" that's going to come out soon as I can get the artwork finished and get the song mixed and mastered and just get to the few final edits I got to tinker with. I won't bore you with technical terms, but in any event, to turn the corner on that song is going to be really great, and I think it's going to sound awesome.
So
So very excited.
are you doing all the producing, mixing stuff yourself?
I am. I do outsource some of the mixing, mastering. I have a lot of talented friends, and some of that stuff's just a little more technical than I'm used to. You know, a little further into the deep end than I'm used to swimming. If you follow. So yeah, I mean that sort of process, I tend to. Plus, it's great to have a fresh set of ears and have a perspective. I do have a number of friends that I jump on the phone with and sort of co-write with as well.
Oh,
So
okay.
I mean, and some other people I just pass ideas back and forth with. But
So on the production side,
mhm.
like a lot of the times you'd be in a studio with someone
Yeah.
doing the production. So when you're doing it on your own, like you say, you're a perfectionist. So is that difficult in not having someone else there to bounce ideas off of and let them take the reins sometimes when you're getting a little too jumbled up in the music? Does it make it a lot different doing it yourself?
It doesn't. It doesn't. I think in some ways, definitely there's a maybe less of a pressure to perform, like you're saying, because you're not dancing for anybody. You know, it's
Right.
just me up in here. And I'm drinking some Timmys and whatever. Right? You know, I'm not really. Yeah, there's. You know, I'm not trying to impress anybody. But that being said, like, I kind of just maybe it's my like modus operandi to just flail and move it, you know, at 10 out of 10 speed at everything to just throw myself through the wall and try and get it done. So I mean but there it's super valuable to have perspective and I know I'm not trying to like negate that there's I value having perspectives. There's a lot of value in just like um in having a clear vision as well. I've always valued that and tried to prioritize clarity in that regard to try to like be able to push forward in a meaningful way and to have like an idea that you want to like come come to fruition and like you know
Yeah.
be fulfilled.
Yeah. And you say that 10 out of 10 attitude, go to the wall. Have you always been like that? Even like you say, when you were younger in your basement recording music?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, um, I think that it's been something that's a factor, and it's just this business is it's never easy, man. It's you just got to just keep rolling, and again, like I never really started playing music because I wanted to have a job in the music business or anything. I just like wanted to make music and have fun and write songs, and for me, it was kind of like music is therapy as well. Like writing songs was a way I kind of got through stuff and it helped um get out like anger and frustration that I think I maybe would have gotten out in like unhealthier ways if it wasn't
Right.
for rock and metal music. So I'm grateful for that.
And so when did it begin for you? not just the playing and the writing, but just
Yeah.
the love of music?
Oh man, I think that my whole life, I mean, I'm sure you had records you like loved listening to as a kid. I had some really like, I think that I wouldn't really consider them like obvious choices for like albums that shaped me as a person, but living out in the middle of nowhere, my mom would put on a couple best of records from like, whatever artist, or if we'd be like going out somewhere, we had a Volvo with the cassette player, and we'd listen to like the Beatles cassettes, and then at home listen to like David Bowie. So we always had fun. Music was just fun. I started kind of playing piano, but I never really took it seriously at all. I think I stopped playing music like 12 or 13. And then I must have been like 15 years old or 16 years old when I just like, my parents got divorced, and I had sort of like fallen fallen from the beaten path and fallen into a rough crowd in school and stuff. And a friend of mine had an acoustic guitar, and I just kind of like would hang out and play guitar. Spent a lot of time just writing songs and listening to punk rock and listening to metal bands and learning guitar riffs. I ended up joining a couple of metal bands and played in really really heavy bands at like 16 years old. At 17, 18, I decided I wanted to definitely play music. My parents thought I was crazy. I wasn't getting on with them. No, it wasn't seeing eye to eye. And so I left home at like 18. Just spent a ton of time playing music, and moved to Toronto from the small town that I was living in,
Yeah, where
a
was
couple
that?
hours away.
Where
And
did you
happened
where did you
I
live
was
when you were young?
Collingwood at the time. Oh, Barrie. Yeah, Barrie,
Oh,
Ontario.
okay.
And just like various places around Simcoe County, which is like an hour or two north of Toronto.
Right.
And so after just not really feeling it anymore, and not wanting to continue living with my parents, I had an opportunity to move into a rehearsal space downtown Toronto with two friends of mine who wanted to start a punk band. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. And we moved out. I had like $500, and we moved into a room next to a really already kind of established band in the scene, My Darkest Days, and
Okay.
met those guys.
So that's how that kind of links up then.
Yeah, yeah. I had the good fortune of meeting the boys, and having similar interests, we'll say, and then just kind of like going from there. And I spent every waking moment, just playing guitar or writing a song. And after about a year of that, I was guitar tacking and kind of like bumming shows to or bumming like a ride to their shows to work for like beer tickets or whatever. And a couple of years into that, I think, well, maybe a year or two into that, they were auditioning for a fifth member. Um, and I was teaching. I was living in the house. We had since moved to a different place. Was living in the spare room of their house, tuning guitars and that sort of thing as a tech. And yeah, I was teaching the dudes that were coming over to audition the guitar parts. Finally, they were like, "Hey, you should just do it, man." And that's how I got the gig. I started as a guitar tech.
Right. So before we go into that, I just want to go back a bit, and you talk about these different periods that you've had in your life where it's been different music and the music has had different meaning. Like when you were young, it was the 60s, 70s pop music that was fun. And then you moved into more the punk scene that was sort of a way to let out your aggression. And then you moved into Toronto and it sort of continued to move that way. So, did you feel that within yourself, within those progressions, and the difference that music played in your life, and the different feelings that it was drawing from you in those each of those progressions?
Yeah, totally. Art imitates live, I think, and quite the inverse is true as well. I think like for me, like the songs I was writing were very much just like a window into that moment. Even if it wasn't overtly a window into that moment, I think it was like um some some kind of reflection of the time, like a sort of time capsule of that period of your life,
Right.
even just from as your perspective, writing a song, the lens or prism in which you see the world at that time affects the way you're playing the guitar and singing and the song you're singing and what you wrote it about. um it's kind of like, always found that kind of interesting. That's why I do love the album. It's such a cool, piece of
Right.
art. But it's just, yeah, I mean,
And do you
but
have
yeah, no, I mean,
any do you have any of those songs that you wrote when you were in your like early teens? Do you still have them?
they're kind of bad. It's hard to like look back on stuff and hear through anything but the mistakes. There are a few. I think Rearview Mirror on the Dead Set Society record's pretty old. I think that's from 2011.
Oh, okay.
That might be the oldest song that made any kind of like relevant cut that people can like tangibly hear.
And
I've
when
always challenged myself to just keep writing.
right, and when you hear a song like that, can you does it draw up the emotion of that certain time of when you wrote it?
100%. Yeah, no, it's for me that song's super visual. I remember like I'd sit in the front passenger seat. I'd crawl through this like hole, our bandwagon, which is like a tour bus, but it's built on like sort of I guess like a almost like a U-Haul or a 26 foot sort of, G style giant sort of delivery truck body that's been converted into like a luxury RV basically, that we toured in. And they this the to the front cabin there would be like this like 1.5 foot by 3 foot window that I'd like slide and like squeeze through. um and then have a guitar in the front seat because I couldn't get the guitar through the window. So when we stopped for gas or something, I'd put the guitar up front, and then I would sit up there. That song always kicks back memories of me for me driving down the highway, like in the western United States or Southwest, like through the desert on the highway at night, you know, for sure.
And
And the headlights in the distance.
you say that you at some points in your life were headed down the wrong path. Do you think without music you would be, well, where do you think you would be without music right now?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I shudder to think. I'm grateful. I'm grateful I had the good sense to focus on, you know, trying to trying to get right. Gosh, if it wasn't for music, I think it would be, gosh, I don't know.
Not in a good
uh
place anyway,
Maybe
maybe.
not. Yeah, I mean, maybe I'd be in a better place. I don't know.
Maybe
Probably
have
not.
more money, but
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. For sure. Definitely, yeah. Definitely if I but I don't know. But then again, you'd be kind of like, I've always found that like if you love doing something and you're enthusiastic about something, yeah, it's so much more than that. You have to be creative, and in the music business, like it's a lot of variables, a lot of factors. But I think that if you're enthusiastic and passionate about something, you're gonna in the end be better off.
and now let's talk about joining My Darkest Days. When that happened, you're in your early 20s, you're joining a band that's already established. I think, had the song already gone number one before you joined?
No, no, it was 2000. I mean, I was kind of jamming with them in like 2007, 2008.
Oh,
I
okay.
think I played my first show in 2009. They may have, I think Matt had a record deal. They were working with Chad when I met them, Chad Kruger and Joey Moy.
Right.
But they had a hard road, man. They because of the fact that Matt's brother was already successful. The local sort of talent agents and management people and music industry folks kind of really like gave us absolutely no benefit of the doubt at all.
Oh, okay.
Viewed us through the vein of like, you have to work 10 times harder than the average person to make it in this business, because everyone's like blackballing you as out of the gates. Everyone's gunning for you. So they had a real hard road. They had to be very, very good. They had a lot of pressure right from the start. So I feel that would have been a real tough time to go through.
Yeah. So what was it like for you being able to join when they've already gone through that? you're joining a band who's
Terrifying.
already traveled that hard road, and now you're just kind of jumping on board with them. So did you feel that pressure of having to be good right away? You didn't have the chance to build up with the band.
No, it was horrible. It was super stressful. Yeah, we were. It was terrifying. Honestly, it was. We were the pressure to perform and like what we like the standards we held ourselves to were like really, really, really high. And I'm glad they were. They taught me like a lot of valuable lessons as a person and as a musician. I think it insulated me as well. Um, the pre-production we did before the first tour from 2009 to 2010, and the first 2 quarters of 2010 before we toured, like living in a basement, like man, it was like I was staying at home in 2010 for like 6 months just to like practice. Like we did nothing but practice for like a half a year, and then we just got in a van and started touring and never stopped for like 2 years. This is the craziest thing. And that 6 month period is the reason why I think I could probably put down a guitar now and pick it up in 10 years and still play it because of that 6 months.
After all that hard work, you guys tour for a few years, and then Matt gets pulled away to 3 Days Grace. What was the feeling, especially within you, when you're riding the highs with this band, and then all of a sudden it's kind of ripped out from underneath you and you don't have a choice? So what was that period like,
Well,
that transition?
I never saw it like that. I mean, for me, the whole time, everything was just a blessing from the start. I was super grateful to have ever really had the opportunity to play with such amazing, talented people and to have played music that was, so that's written at such a high level. Like some of those songs have some of the world's best co-writers on them. Matt worked with some incredible people, and that's also a culmination of some of the formative years of Matt's writing as well as a writer, and some of those like gems that like I mean I think every writer understands how important that is, that body of work that you like that first record is such a cool sort of like intimate thing. And so I'm sure he's really proud. I'm very proud. And I think we all are. That's that how and truly it stood the test of time. We still have like ton of people listening on Spotify and YouTube, and pretty cool, man. So yeah, and it's a testament to those songs and the hard work that those guys put in over the 10 years, 10 plus years. So for me, I was just, I was just grateful to have had a ticket to the chocolate factory, man. We were, I got to play Madison Square Gardens and stuff. I had no harbored no ill will towards anybody. I was just grateful to have gotten to do some pretty incredible stuff. And I know that with each, when one door closes, another one opens. And I think that I've gotten to play a lot of cool music and to grow on my own as an artist. And I think for that I'm very grateful. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Right. And then talk about Streetlight Social and that project.
Yeah, I mean, Streetlight Social was my deflationary period in life. That was like the low after the high in a good way. Cause like, I mean, Chris and I, right. Chris has been such a huge, huge influence musically on me now, especially. We're writing together like all the time, working with him on every song. He's co-producing and co-writing like everything going forward. I mean, he's my secret weapon. And Chris Miller was the singer of Streetlight Social, extremely talented dude, one of my best friends. And definitely we had a great time playing super low key but very, very great chorus folk songs. But and when we dropped it, I was really excited and I wanted everyone to hear it. I don't think I realized at the time that like that wasn't really the flavor of ice cream that the people who like MBD and hard rock music wanted to really hear that. um you know and I felt like to some extent I had a little blood on my hands, but because of the way it was viewed of like me like suddenly trying to play like top 40 or alternative music. But it wasn't never really like that, because like we were always sort of writing songs the same way, even when we were trying to write for MDE songs from 2011 and 2012. For the third LP that they had, or I guess it was an EP that they had been kind of slated up prior to Matt getting the opportunity to play with 3 Days Grace, we had this sort of rough sketch idea of what the record was going to be. And Chris and I had a few songs that were sort of on the short list to be on that. So,
And now moving into your solo career, what is that feeling like after having played in bands basically your entire life? What does it mean to switch over to the solo side, and especially right in this time be so isolated while you're doing it?
I mean, for me, honestly, dude, like it's not any different. It's not different at all. Like I've always kind of just I like does not play well with others. Like I tried to write some stuff. I've written some stuff that's been cool with Matt. I write with Chris for sure. Well, but a lot of times like I find that I like yeah, I mean really it's no different because like I mean really working with Chris is like I do like working on my own as well. I spend a lot of time editing and mixing and stuff on my own and going back and forth with Chris to get his opinion on stuff. Um, yeah, I mean, and to that effect, it hasn't changed a ton. My commute's shorter. I mean, it's different in one sense because like, you know, it's a little less linear. It's less like there's less of a we're gonna make this sound really great. We're gonna dump a bunch of money into ads and then we're gonna get in the truck and go and play 20 shows or 60 shows or whatever and start trying to pull on somebody's sleeve enough to get, you know, some cool opening slot on a tour and try and get some exposure and connect with people who like what we do. But I don't feel isolated in the sense because I've made a team. I've got a great team of people who I believe in and who believe in this music and without that I don't think I wouldn't be as confident as I am.
Dead Set Society took a hiatus in 2019,
Yeah.
but once we're allowed to go back out and start getting together with people, do you
Mhm.
have thoughts of either getting that back up and running or getting another band together, or are you focused more on a solo career from this point?
Well, I mean, I don't really, I don't, I try not to view it as a solo career per se. I guess that's what it is. I just like view it as like no different than anything else. It's just like was gonna save me a bunch of legwork, and I'd be able to reach a larger audience of people faster by just you know putting music out under my own name.
Right.
Um, so I mean, I think I'm gonna just keep dropping music. I'd love to, you know, to tour doing something. Definitely 100% going to play live with a band. Can't see these songs translating to me going out and telling jokes with an acoustic guitar. I don't think it'll work. I mean, maybe for 3 songs, but like, I don't think people would want to see 10 like that. It wouldn't work as well. Songs are better when they're louder. These songs are. Um, but yeah, I think by the time I'll be able to tour, I'll have 10 songs out to be able to do that and to you know maybe not go everywhere, but to do some select shows here and there. Definitely get into the Midwest. You know,
Right.
um, I mean, in terms of Dead Set, I'd love to see more Dead Set songs in the future, and I'd love to see more Dead Set shows in the future. I don't know what that looks like,
Hmm.
and it's sort of out of my control. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'd love that. I just want to keep dropping songs. I never wanted to stop. I never want to stop playing music. Anyway.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. At this point in your career, after doing it for so long, when you look back on your 12, 13-year-old self and what music meant to you then, and now what music means to you in this day, is it pretty similar still?
No, it's completely different.
Is it?
Yeah, it's I've been completely like jumped through the sausage maker of the music industry too many times. There's like my spirit was much more robust. I don't know. Yeah, there was still more light in my eyes.
Right.
No, I mean, I think my opinion on the music business has changed. I'm smarter and savvier now. I feel like, you know, thankfully I haven't regressed in that way. Maybe in some ways, but I think most ways I haven't. I think in most ways I've grown, and I view the world through a lens that's far clearer now, and for that I'm very grateful.
Right.
I think that that it's changed in a good way. It's more pragmatic and realistic. But it's also like back then it was much more. I think there was zero desire to be successful, and you weren't trying to fit, in a certain category or to try to get us. There was a lot more, I think, creative freedom to just not have the uh, to have no inhibition to just sort of do whatever. Whereas now there's a far more there's a tangible goal when I sit down to make music. Everything is it's kind of like you know, but it's not a bad thing because it's like it's kind of good, right? Like I mean, for me to reach lots of people and to do something that's objectively good is hard.
Right.
So you have to put a lot of effort in, and you have to do your best, and you have to try and be considerate of what else is happening. You can't live in a vacuum. And you can, but like it's better, to try to do things that to conduct yourself in a manner that, you want to personally, like I want to do stuff that's great, and I want to be I want to be great. I want to constantly raise the bar and to challenge myself. And I'm not anywhere close to where I want to be as an artist or as a singer. But I have the drive to continue, and hopefully as long as I can, I'll keep raising the bar. Honestly, tapping into that, the way you saw the world as a young person, not really wanting to be a millionaire or whatever, not trying to constantly like grow and be successful, although there's nothing wrong with wanting that. Of course I want that, but it's important to get back to that rawness and the realness sometimes, and not forget about that, because I think that it informs some of the best music made out there was just honest output, honest creative output. And if you don't want to like, sully that with poor intentions.
Awesome. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for joining us. Time has flown by.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna make dinner.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, I have to make lunch.
There you go.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And
my pleasure.
We will hold you to the one song a month. You don't have to put out one song a month, but by the end of the year, we want you say you have 10, but if you can squeak 2 more out of that and get 12, then we'd appreciate
so. Hey, thank you so much. I'm very grateful to have jumped on and I've had a great conversation.
Well, thank you so much, and have a great dinner.
Yeah.
And we'll look forward to the music. And yeah, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much. Take care,
huh? Thanks.
Cheers.
Thank you guys once again so much for joining us. We really appreciate the support. We hope that you enjoyed our conversation with Reid Henry. Please like, subscribe, follow, share us on whatever streaming platform you're listening on. And be sure to join us next time for more great interviews with incredible musicians. We'll see you next time on The Music Made Me.